Adam.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good. Oh, yeah. Oh. Well, that was quite the trip. Hope you didn't have to wait here too long for me.
No, it was fun.
It's a long way over. I know you had to fix your boat up and get it ready for the next day.
In the morning, you got it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me onto your lobster boat. And I'd like to go through the day and talk about what I saw and what exactly is going on.
Go right ahead.
All right.
What do you want to know?
Now, we started pretty early this morning. It's pretty dark out. What time do you usually start when you start your regular day?
I usually get up a little after 4, but I'm down at the wharf at about 5:30.
So that's a normal time you start like we did today?
Yeah.
Now, when you get going, I noticed you were doing some work on the boat. Now, that's a normal thing in the morning, make sure everything, the boat is prepared, no problems, you're ready to...
Sometimes there's stuff to do. A lot of times I'll do it in the evening and be ready for the next day. Or on my day off, I'll come down and work on the boat, make sure everything's working.
And I also noticed there's a buoy on top of the boat. Now, is that just to...
Yeah, legally you have to mark it just so the wardens know what your color buoy is.
So everybody
or
has...
any other boats see you that make sure you're hauling the right color.
So everybody has their own color buoy?
Yeah.
Do you buy them like that? Do you pick out a color? Do you paint them yourself? Or?
Well, you legally have to pick a color, and it's on your license. You just paint them. You paint them every year.
So you paint them yourself?
Yeah. Or my wife and I both.
Just out of curiosity, how many licenses do they issue in the state for lobster fishing?
I'm not sure exactly. 5,000 something. There's not a lot of new fishermen coming into it right now.
So you...
Every 5 that leave, they'll let 1 back in by lottery.
So you have your license, you have your boat, you come here early in the morning, you're ready to go, the boat's ready to go, and then you wait your turn to get your bait.
Yeah, or you get it in the evening. Right now I have the bait on the boat, so sometimes I'll get it in the morning, sometimes in the evening. But I'm ready to go now, so in the morning I'll just jump on the boat, pick up my Sturman, and we're off. But if it's going to be warm out and we're not going the next day, I'll put it on in the morning that we're going to go so it doesn't sit on the boat in the hot weather for a full day.
Now, I was talking to Scott, and he sells the lobster bait. And Scott was telling me about different types of lobster bait that he sells. What bait do you particularly use?
I usually almost always use herring, but I'll mix in with it either pogies or rockfish.
And you use alewives in the spring?
I don't spring fish that much. I've got another business, and I don't start fishing until shedder season, until the middle of the summer.
So they spring fish, and then they take a break, and they fish again, or how does that work with the
the guys that spring fish, they'll just keep fishing all the way through.
Oh, I see. So you start at a certain time of year, not necessarily in the spring.
Yeah, I start in July.
I saw this fish, it's a fish head that was red. You know what that is?
Yeah, redfish, rockfish.
Redfish, rockfish. Okay, all right, that makes sense. But you don't use that?
I do sometimes, yeah.
Oh.
We're using them now. I can't remember what we used today when we were out there. I guess
it was the blackfish head.
Oh, black cod, yeah. We used black cod today.
And you had the
herring. I mix it up, yeah, the herring in the bag and then put the black cod on the string.
Oh, by the way, what's the name of your boat?
Mojo.
Is there any particular reason why you named it Mojo?
My wife's name is Maureen Joan.
Oh.
My last boat was Margella, after my 2 daughters' names, Margot and Ella. So.
All right, we put everything on the boat, and the minute we left the dock and you're going out to sea, I noticed that right away everybody's working. You had 2 guys working with you, and they're cutting up heads and they're baiting the traps or whatever they're doing, but they were constantly working.
Yeah, they get paid well. They should be constantly working.
Now I noticed on the boat, on the is the starboard side, the side you're steering the boat on? Okay, off of the boat there's this thing, it looks like a pulley or something.
Yeah, the davit with a block. Davit holds the block.
And that's the thing that I noticed you were getting the line with.
Put the line over the block and into the hauler, yep.
So we go out there and you kept looking up, like, was that a GPS? Some electronics?
Yeah, GPS and a sounder. So you can look at the bottom type and the bottom contour. And decide where you're going to put your traps, telling what the bottom looks like.
And does that tell you where you've laid your traps before, so you know exactly where to go look for them? Or do you
the GPS does. The GPS I'll put. I fish strings of five traps, either 5 singles or 5 doubles, and I'll mark each end of those strings with a mark on the plotter, so I can go and find it.
So okay.
But I won't necessarily put them back there. I put the traps on the boat, and then if I like what I saw, I'll set them back on those same marks. If not, I'll erase the marks and set them elsewhere and put new marks on the water.
Okay, now what's a string?
A set of 5 traps, either 5 singles or 5 doubles. So it's either 5 single traps or 5 pairs. So you have 10 in the string.
So one string is either 5 traps or 10 traps. And how,
that's how I fish it. I mean, other people do it other ways.
how many buoys do you put per string?
One per trap, or 1 for every 2 traps if they're doubles.
Okay, so it could be 1, 2, or 3, or I got you.
And some guys do
Okay.
triple. I don't run a lot of triples. A lot of guys will run 1 buoy to 3 traps.
So now we're out there, and you had a hook, and you took the hook and you hooked the line and brought in the buoy, but you
The
brought
gaff,
it in.
yep.
Yeah, the gaff. Okay, is that what that thing's called? That hook thing? It's a gaff.
Yep.
Okay, all this terminology. And then you took the line and you put it over the lock thing, and then you turned it on, and the string started coming up until a trap came up.
Yep.
When you take the buoy out, you were sticking it in this hot water right in front of you, and a little place where you can put the buoy. What's the purpose of putting this buoy in this hot water?
Just to clean the growth. You get a lot of growth on the line and the traps. It just keeps it all clean. Less drag on the buoy and on the line, and keeps your boat cleaner.
So you put in the line, you put the buoy in the hot water, the line comes in, traps come up, and you push it over to your first mate, and the first mate, he's taking the lobsters out. I mean, this guy's fast. He's checking and making sure there's certain sizes. What exactly is the size limit?
3 3/16 inches from the eye socket to the end of the carapace.
From the eye socket to the end of the...
Carapace, the main body of the lobster.
Well, I noticed there was one lobster that was actually, it looked like a size you could keep, but you threw the lobster back. Why was that?
Females, any egg-bearing females, you throw back.
And how do you know that it's a female lobster with eggs?
Well, you can see the eggs if it has eggs, but even a female lobster that has its right fin marked with a V, you have to throw back anyways.
So you get the lobster, oh, this one is marked with a V on the
And
back.
you just throw
you
it back.
throw it back.
If it's a female and the fin isn't marked and the fin's in good shape and there are no eggs, you can keep it. But if there's eggs on it, then you put a fresh notch in the female.
Well, how do you know it has eggs?
You can see them. They're usually black, massive, tiny eggs.
So you look under the female. Oh, it's
So
black.
you check every lobster to make sure there are no eggs on it.
I see. And that's, you know, it's a female. It's not notched. You see the black eggs under the tail, and then you give it a notch, and you throw it back. And then any other lobsterman that catches that same female
throw it
will
back.
just throw it back immediately.
Because you could have a male that has a notch in it by accident,
Mm-hmm.
and that's illegal. So even if before you throw it over, you flip it over and make sure that it's a female.
I see.
So it's like a 3-step process on all your measuring.
And then anything that was questionable, I noticed he put it on top of a table, this plastic table,
The sorting table, yep.
sorting table.
We'll empty all the traps, and then after he's baited the trap up, then he'll go back and do all the measuring.
Because he
sorting.
still threw some back, even after they were
Yeah.
on that table.
Yeah.
And then the ones he kept, he was putting bands on them. Now the bands are, I'm assuming, they're so that people don't get pinched.
Yeah, and they don't beat each other up. They'll snap at each other and tear each other up.
So there are two
Tank together.
purposes, not only so that people don't get
Yeah,
snapped, but
both.
they'll actually go after each other, and then that'll kind of ruin your catch, and
Yep.
that's not good for the lobster. Okay, that makes sense. Now that's new information. I like that. So he was doing that. Meanwhile, your second mate was taking the traps, and I noticed he was putting bait
Rebaiting
bags,
them.
rebaiting
Yep.
them with the fish heads, and then he was putting them back into the trap, taking the trap, putting it to the back of the boat, lining them up, getting them ready to go. So you bring in the buoys, you're putting the buoys in the hot water. You take that one, you put it into an empty plastic container to your left,
Yep.
and then the next one, the same thing, same routine, until they're all in, and all of these traps have been emptied. They've been rebaited, they're in the back. All of a sudden you start saying, what, go? You start yelling something to the back.
Yeah, I make sure that they're all baited up, and the boys know what's happening back there. They know when it's time to spin around and set them back. If I liked what I saw and we did well, then we'll set them back in the same spot. And if I didn't, we'll try another spot with them and set them there and see how they work next time.
But as soon as you figure it out, you do something to that GPS, and then you put what are coordinates, whatever you're doing, and then you yell back, and then they start pushing them off. and here comes a buoy, and in the distance, and they're pushing them off, and here comes another buoy, and you're pushing them off, and they're all done, and the next thing you know, all those traps are rebaited, they're going back out there, and you're back hooking another one. Now, I noticed that on the trap, there's some holes in, like a couple round holes and a square hole. Well, what's that for?
The escape vents. They're a certain size, inch and 15/16. You have to have at least one vent so the small lobsters can escape out of the trap.
I see. So
and then in addition to that, you have two biodegradable rings that, if the trap gets lost, will rot off, and then the door will open up, and you'll have a big opening that all bigger lobsters can get out of also.
So if you lose a trap and it's on the bottom of the ocean, it'll eventually rot away, so the lobsters can escape.
They call it a ghost trap, and they do continue to fish for a while. So these vents rot off, the rings rot off, and the vent opens up, lifts up, floats up, and then it opens up, and all the lobsters can escape.
Okay, so now I understand. You had one lobster that was kind of hooked onto one of these traps and couldn't get it off, and instead of messing with it, you left it in there, and you just pushed it back with the rebaited trap, and the thing was like climbing up this trap, but no big deal because it'll go right out that hole and escape.
Yep.
Now this table, there's a plastic top, and what's that called?
A sorting table.
Sorting table, and it's actually sitting on top of a tank. And I noticed your first mate puts on the band on both of the claws of a lobster. He's dropping it into a hole to his left, and that's going into the tank.
Yep.
When he gets done with that, he just slides the door shut, and then when he gets the next one, he opens it up, and he's over and over and over. And when you get done and you come in, that top comes off, and there you have it, the lobster catch of the day.
Time to unload.
And wow, that was a lot of lobster. I mean, go, and all these lobsters, but you sure threw a lot back.
Yeah, there's
I'm
a lot of shorts.
Oh, wow. I mean, and still, how many pounds of lobster do you think that was?
That we threw back, or that
No.
we caught?
No, that you actually caught and kept.
I think we had about 1,000 pounds. I can't remember now.
Yeah, that's a lot. So you come back in, and Scott buys the lobster from you. And he has lobster carts, and then they load them up, and then they pull them up, and they up to the top, and they weigh them, and then I guess you just get a check after he deducts fuel and bait, and then whatever the difference is, whatever the lobster's going, a pound for that particular day, and then you got a check.
You got it.
And you do this how many days a week?
I usually fish 3 and then take a day off. 3 on and 1 off. So you get a 4 nights of soak on the traps.
Soak?
Soak time, yeah, 4 nights.
Another terminology, soak time on the traps. No, I like that. Thank you for inviting me on the boat today and seeing what you do. It's a very interesting trip and a very monotonous trip for you.
Glad you had a good time.
Thank you, it was a good time. And I think now I'm going to go find somebody who's cook me up one of these lobsters so I can try it, and I'll let you know how I like it. If it's any good, if it's worth eating any more of them. All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Appreciate it.
See you
And
next
I'll
time.
be in touch.
All right,
all right.
sounds good.
All right, bye-bye now.
See you soon. Oh, hey, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget your purse.
It's not a purse.
Looks purse-like to me.